Hello and welcome to AWS Show and Tell, everybody. We've got a action-packed episode for you all today. We're going to be talking about a new kid on the block, Strands, and how to do observability evaluations and much, much more. Although Strands may not be a new kid on the block. Amanda might have some insight for us there in a second. But real quick, everyone, my name is Trevor Spires. I'm a solutions architect here at AWS, digging into all things generative AI with our awesome AWS community. That's you. If you're here, you're our awesome AWS community. Thank you for coming along. Excited to teach you all some agentic stuff today. And I'm joined by two amazing folks from our Bedrock organization here, Amanda and Ishan. Amanda, Ishan, would love an introduction. I'm sure our lovely audience would love an introduction. And thank you for coming on today.
Thanks, Trevor. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Lester. I am a go-to-market specialist at AWS and specialize primarily in our Gen AI, Amazon Bedrock, and agentic AI services. Been at AWS for a little over 4 years now and based in Dallas, Texas, but coming to you live today from San Francisco.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ishan Singh, and I'm a generative AI data scientist on the Bedrock go-to-market team. And I'm also joining you from San Francisco today, but I am based out in Seattle. I have been with Amazon for about a little over 5.5 years at this point. And yeah, generative AI it is. So loving it.
It is. How can you be in tech and not want to be working on Gen AI right now? And you know what's funny, you all, is Amanda and Ishan, we're in the same room just moments ago. But in fact, they're in the same office, sitting in separate rooms because that's how we're rolling today. Everyone, I see some comments rolling in. If you're on the LinkedIn, if you're on the YouTube Live, let us know where you're dialing in from today, and maybe let us know something you'd like to learn about Strands Agents during today's conversation. I'm a little newer to Strands, so I'm going to definitely have some basic questions along the way, and I think our friends in the stream might have some feedback for us as well. By the way, what for the next hour or so, maybe let's give them a high level agenda, and then we'll let you kick us off here, Amanda.
Yeah, absolutely. So on today's session, we're going to go through an overview of Strands Agents SDK, what it is, why we open sourced it and made it available for developers around the world, and then we're going to do a deep dive into the observability, evaluation, deployment options, and we'll also showcase a demo of some of the integrations that we have with other key providers who can help accelerate deployment and enhance your agentic applications that you may be building. So super excited to go through that.
I can't wait. I want to learn all about this. In fact, the customer was just asking me about this today. They were saying like, hey, we're working on our agentic stack and we've got our agents working and we can't see them. we need to be able to observe what's going on. We need to be able to iterate. And so a lot, this is one of those things that I think people should think about before they start building, but maybe in reality, you ship a couple things and then you realize, oh man, I need to be able to measure. But hey, we got folks from all around the globe, from Chile, from St. Lucia. Went to St. Lucia a couple years ago. Beautiful, beautiful island. Thanks for joining. We got Prasad, who's been using Bedrock a lot. We love to hear it. If you all are using our AI services, be sure to let us know. But yeah, Amanda, let's kick it off. Let's let people know what this whole Strands thing is all about.
Yes, of course. So for those of you who are not aware of Strands Agents yet, Strands is an open sourced SDK for building agents with just a few lines of codes. Strands is an SDK that was built and is battle tested specifically by AWS and Amazon developers. It came out of working backwards from customer problems, from customers who were trying to build agents faster, develop integrated agentic workflows into products and services. But one of the biggest problems that we heard fundamentally from a variety of different customers, from startups to enterprises to ISVs, is that it takes a really long time to leverage a lot of different frameworks and a lot of different architectures to go in and develop and And one of the teams within AWS, the Amazon Q development team, actually went through and built the first version of Strands Agents with the intention to make it as simple and easy as possible to build agents. And we decided to open source this and make it available for any developer in the world to be able to leverage. And the results that we've seen from using it internally for agentic workloads that are in production at scale in AWS and Amazon products and services that are available today for customers in production, is it takes developers the time it takes to build these agentic workloads down from months down to weeks, and even I even heard in the last 2 weeks there are some developers who have been able to get agents, get them built and into production within a day. So we're really cutting down the time it takes to build these AI agents at scale, and it's a super easy to use SDK. And super excited to tell everyone a little bit more.
Hey, I got a +1 that if you're a developer and you're in the stream, let us know. In fact, I'll share a link to the repo for those developers out there that want to pop in and start playing with this themselves. But of course, I saw this announcement a few weeks ago, and I was like, "Cool, I got to build my first Strands agent," and it really did deliver. I vibe coded my way to a nice research agent that could engage a couple different tools, particularly. I'm a big MCP guy. I run a bunch of MCP servers, so I got it integrated with all my local MCP servers, and I was off to the races. And yeah, I think for those devs in the chat, you got to check it out. We'll make if you're in the LinkedIn or YouTube, keep an eye out. I'll post the link to the Strands repo here in a moment.
Yeah, of course. And in terms of Strands, some of my favorite features of Strands is fundamentally the fact that you get a really broad selection of tools that you can get access to. So as you're going in and building your agents, by giving your agent access to specific tools, Strands comes with access to thousands of MCP servers that you can leverage. It comes with some built-in tools that you can use to extend your agents and make them more powerful and more extensible. And then we are adding support for the agent-to-agent protocol coming soon, and that's something that we'll share in the coming weeks a little bit more details on. The other piece that is a really one of my other favorite features is the fact that you can build and deploy these agents anywhere. So Strands Agents SDK is it's really easy to use, and you can run those agents in any environment, including on Amazon ECS, Lambda, EC2, and/or other cloud providers. So really flexible. And then it also comes with built-in observability and works with agent evaluation as well, so you can optimize for accuracy, latency, and costs. So across the board, Strands is extremely flexible. It's easy to use, and we'll dive right into provide a little bit more detail into specifically what some of those capabilities are.
Hey, I got to say, in terms of I was super impressed by the compatibility of Strands on initial release, and this is already exciting because I haven't seen these updates, but it sounds like we're really doubling down on our compatibility with different industry standard tools for Strands, which is amazing. And the one thing I was playing with the Ollama provider, because I'm actually weirdly enough I'm on planes a lot, and so I was trying to figure out can I run my agent offline, and it turns out you can. You've heard of Snakes on a Plane? That great film. How about agents on a plane? All right, you can run Strand agents on a plane with Ollama on your laptop. That's wild. That's all I got to say.
The future is here. The next frontier. It was Trevor building agents on a plane.
That's right.
That's incredible. In terms of once you're building your agents, though, I think one thing that we were talking at the beginning of the session is observability and evaluation isn't something that you should think about when you're getting ready to put an agent into production. It's actually one of those from a best practice perspective, one of those pieces that we recommend that you think of implementing right from the get-go. You want to make sure that when you're building your agents, that you have observability and you have a way to improve and iterate on that your agent's performance, even at experimentation stage. So this is something that you really should start thinking about implementing from the beginning. And the good news is that we have some built-in observability and evaluation capabilities that you can easily leverage to give you more insight into what your agent is doing, the key performance metrics, and specific tool usage. Then from a traces perspective, being able to go in and track the agent lifecycle, monitor specific calls, and then you can use those insights from those traces to then improve the overall performance. But Ishan, this from a observability and evaluation perspective, what are some of the your favorite features that is available within Strands Agents from an observability and evaluation perspective?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So a couple of things that I like about the observability feature that we have with Strands is that it's really easy to get started. You really need to just like configure a bunch of environment variables, and we will show you today how that's done. So you just need to like configure those environment variables, provide your endpoint, and you're ready to go. You don't have to do like a lot of setup. There is no configuration as such, like complex configuration as such. So that's part one. Second, that you can connect it with any provider that you have, which supports any OpenTelemetry Gen AI semantics. So be it like your favorite tools, like maybe let's say Langfuse, Arize, or others. So you can just connect any of them. So flexibility is there and ease of use.
That's amazing. It sounds like the tools that customers are already using for other observability tasks, they can kind of plug this right in, which is super. I've seen these patterns where teams that are building agents kind of have their own bespoke tools, and they're like building out these custom kind of stacks, and it seems like something that's not sustainable. It feels like something that you see early in an adoption cycle. And so knowing that there'll be feeds going into your preferred observability tool is great news for customers.
Yeah, and also the point that if observability is easy to set up, it sort of removes a lot of work that you ultimately otherwise have to do for evaluations, because observability and evaluation sort of go hand in hand. This makes you like easily navigate to the evaluation stage. So that's also there.
One of the other areas that is also really flexible with Strands is the fact that you can deploy your Strands agents anywhere. So you can run those agents in any environment where you are running a Python application, and that is from running agents locally for experimentation to running agents behind a specific API. If you need to run agents on-prem, you have the option to do that as well. And then you could deploy your agents to AWS on EC2, EKS, Lambda for production use. And across the board, this is one of the key areas that we wanted to make sure that we were double downing on for customers, as being as flexible as possible to give developers the choice to run those agents in the environment of choice based on your business use cases. So this is something that a lot of customers are really excited about, and we're excited that this is one of the options within Strands.
And we got a question from the chat, and I guess you should probably be clear. Is this an AWS technology? And I know it's an open source technology, and it actually is a good. I was like, well, obviously it's an AWS technology, but it's actually a good question because it might have come from Amazon and not AWS. So curious the how you classify it now that it's open source.
Yeah, it's an open sourced SDK that is provided and built and managed by an AWS team. Strands has we have a entire service team focused on Strands and making sure that we're reviewing the pull requests that are coming through. So this actually has a dedicated service team, engineering team, and product.
Wait, so would this be supported if I was like an enterprise customer and I had issues? Could I open a case for Strands?
You could reach out to your AWS account manager, your solution architects to do that. And then from a support perspective, we also have a Discord community,
Nice.
and then a really active development community online as part of the contributors that are contributing specifically to the SDK.
You can also open issues on the GitHub, so we regularly check those as well. So that's another way to reach out.
Yep. So this is an SDK that does have support. It has a dedicated product team and engineering development behind it to make sure that this is successful. And you can even look at all the number of pull requests that have been pushed to production since we've last announced Strands. So a lot of enhancements are coming and are in our plan to come that are on the roadmap as well. The other area that I wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of is specifically the number of integrations that are available within Strands. So one of the key ways to unlock the value of your agentic AI applications is by leveraging some of the purpose-built SaaS providers that are available today, like Tavily, Langfuse, Arize, Mem0, and Ragas. These are really great providers who are providing the ability to monitor and debug your Strands agents, the ability to intelligently query suggestions by providing specific memory for your Strands agents, and then evaluating the performance of your agents or tools for a given task. So there are a variety of different third-party vendors and open source providers that are integrated directly with Strands agents, and this is providing even further flexibility and choice for developers to be able to build and use the tools that you want to build as you're developing your agentic AI applications. And I know, Ishan, that you've worked very closely with some of these third-party technology providers. What are some of your favorites?
Yeah, so I have, very recently, and by very recent, I mean like literally last Friday, I was collaborating with the Arize team, and we finished our integration with the Arize. Then during the launch, we were working very closely with Langfuse team and Ragas team. So those are also my favorites. So all three of them are my favorite because I got to work on all three. I'm lucky, blessed, but also, this is such an interesting time to be able to see how these are built, what these integrations look like, how easy it is to use these. So I think that's really my favorite part.
Yeah, it'll further extend and make it easier for customers to be able to leverage the observability, evaluation, and the monitoring and debugging capabilities to really make it ready for an enterprise production use.
I wonder how, it seems like if I wanted a new integration like this, I could go to the repo and I could just open an issue and ask for it, and maybe that would get considered. How are we deciding what to build today?
Yeah, it fundamentally is coming because this is an AWS and Amazon team. It fundamentally comes back to working backwards from customer requirements. So we're looking and reviewing on a daily basis the PRs that are submitted from the community, and then we're also evaluating and looking at the requests that we're hearing from startup customers to enterprise customers. What are the specific integrations that customers are asking for, and those are added to the roadmap accordingly. So this is every single one of these integrations in here was specifically came from specific customer requests.
I knew the answer already. I just love to hear us say it, always working backwards from customer feedback. And it's awesome when you're working with a service team who is really listening to our customers out in the field. So really just exciting way to see things start.
Absolutely. The other piece that we've, and speaking of working backwards from customers, one of the other key problems that we're solving within Strands and what makes it very unique is the fact that this is also optimized to be used with AWS services. So there's a tool within Strands that allows you to, it's called Use AWS Services, and that allows you to then call specific AWS services and have your agents use those services to further extend it. In addition to the AWS services that have Boto 3 support, Strands also is integrated directly with Amazon Bedrock knowledge bases, so you can leverage retrieval augmented generation. And then it is also integrated directly with Amazon Bedrock guardrails, so you can provide safeguards with guardrails from a responsible AI perspective. So really, we really thought holistically about how to make for the AWS customer specifically, and Strands is open sourced and works with a variety of different tools, but we also wanted to make sure that we were providing the AWS customers specifically who want to build with our open sourced framework with a way to further extend these agentic workloads and provide more power with that with the AWS services of choice. And then the last piece before we get to the demo is there are 20 plus pre-built tools that you can use within Strands to get started very quickly building agents. And those tools enable you to have the agent run specific file operations that allows you to go in and call and retrieve information with RAG. It allows you to interpret code, execute shell and system commands, leverage a variety of different multimodal capabilities from images to voice to video, and then you have a variety of different flexible options to run specific workflows. And one of my favorite tools is in Strands is called the Agent Builder. And this is where, and you can see it in this screenshot here, but it allows you to use natural language to interact with the agent. So in this case, I've imported a Strands agent. I'm calling the Strands tool for an HTTP request, and then I'm using natural language to go in and ask the agent, where is the International Space Station, and then I can go back and forth and communicate with that agent using natural language to get that response and to test out and experiment very quickly. It's one of my favorite tools. It's super easy to get started, and it doesn't require a lot of code to be able to do that. Trevor, have you played around with this yet?
I actually have not used any. It's funny. I've used it with a lot of custom tools. I don't know if I've used any of the built-in tool integrations. And I think what this is telling me is I need to go back and just read the docs, because there's some very fundamental capabilities built into this that we've thought of that I actually didn't. I kind of assumed, this just launched, everything's got to be custom, but there's so much baked into it right out of the box.
It is so powerful, and I don't think that's one thing that I don't. Once you dig in, there's so many different options. It's so flexible, and this is one of the surprise and delight features for developers that really makes it super easy to really see the power of using an agent as a tool.
Yeah, and Trevor, you mentioned about looking at the documentation, right? So with this utility, it already knows about the documentation, so you can just quickly build these agents.
No, I know it's wild that basically now that you can point any developer assistant at a GitHub repo, you can basically say like, "Hi, coding assistant, here's Strands. I'd love to build a Strands agent," and as long as you have that integration, the documentation is great. In fact, I've wondered lately if we don't think about optimizing these for AI to like actually read the repo to regenerate code. I've heard customers start to ask about that. It's like, should I be publishing code in a way that it's more easy for AI to interpret? So anyway, very cool. Well, I think we've got some. Amanda, did you have any other slides you wanted to go through?
The biggest one was let's go build. Let's go look at the SDK. We've been talking a lot about it. It's one thing to talk about. It's another thing to see it in action. So I do want to make sure that we
amazing.
We do that next.
We'll hand it over to Ishan. But before I pull your screen up, Ishan, I asked some folks in the chat, hey, what are you building? Have you built any agents before? And we got some interesting feedback. This is a popular one from Julian. I've heard of use cases like this, building agents to automate contact center flows. Looks like they were using Bedrock agents. Maybe something to test out with Strands these days now that that's an option. Folks, I'm curious, if you're building an agent, let us know what you're trying to build in the chat, or maybe you're wondering, is it possible to build something like my innovative idea with Strands? We'd love to talk some more about it while we go through the demo.
Yeah. So let's share my screen. So what I'm sharing first is very simple agent that's built using Strands. And it's a web search tool. So I'm using DuckDuckGo APIs here. And as you can see, this agent really in 35 lines of code, and of those, like a lot of them are just the comments here. So what I'm doing here is I import my Strands and get the agent and the tools. I import my DuckDuckGo search, and then I configure that. And what I'm doing is only passing in the keywords as how I want, the language that I want it to use, the number of results I want it to fetch. And if you look at this piece, this is really just like 3 lines or 2 lines of code where you have created an agent using a web search. So it's a web search agent, very easy, very quick to use. You provide what the input is. In this case, I'm asking that, hey, what is the weather in San Francisco right now? So yeah, it should go to the web, look up for San Francisco, the time and everything, and then provide you the weather. But that's not what I actually meant to show. I just showed this to you so that you have like a general idea of like how easy it is to build. The topic for today is observability and evaluations. So diving right into that, what I'm showing you here is an architecture of a restaurant assistant agent. This agent can answer questions about like different type of menu options, what's the location of the restaurant, and take in other type of user questions. But also at the same time, it can take actions like create a booking, get details of a booking, maybe cancel a reservation for the user. Since we are diving really deep in the observability and evaluation piece, so I'm not going to explain a lot about the functionality of this agent, but directly diving into the like how the tracing piece works, where the eval comes in, how you look at that, where you like start with that, and all those things. So if we look at this architecture diagram, what is happening here is, so you have created a REST to assist agent which has all the capabilities, and then it emits some traces, which in this specific case, we are sending it to Langfuse. But I would later on also show you after this one, like how you could do the same thing with Arize AI. They have a very capable observability and evaluation offerings. Similarly, you can do that with other providers as well who supports OpenTelemetry and GenAI semantics. So in this case, REST assist is sending your traces, logs, events, your everything that your agent is doing. And by everything here, I mean like, hey, it's calling some sort of a vector store. Maybe it's invoking some API. So you need to know what those are, how agent decided to call those, invoke those, what it did with the response that it got from those. Maybe there was an error. So you need to look at the entire process that was an entire thing that was happening within the agent as it was running and processing the user's request. Finally, once you have all of that, you log it to some sort of tool, in this case Langfuse, and then now you have a full trace which you can evaluate. And we will dive deeper into evaluation too. There are two types that I'm going to show you today. One via Ragus. In this case, Ragus is also parallelly reading through the traces that are getting logged on Langfuse. And then there is a separate method which is more online, more automated, where one record is processed at a time. So that we will also look at that later. All right, so this is the agent we are working with today. I'll scroll down. So now we already know that, hey, this is super easy to use, very easy to get started. And if you have previously written an instrumentation for any framework, you would know that writing instrumentation code is really tough, because you need to, well, for many reasons, you need to know like what is the framework doing overall. And that generative AI as a field is moving so fast that these frameworks are also changing. So for you to be able to write the instrumentation code in the first place is overall a hard job. But then let's say if you write it, in order to maintain it is another thing, because generative AI field is just changing. I mean, like if we look at the way it is moving, every week there is something big that comes out, something new, something changes. So we kept that in mind as we were building the offering on observability. What we have done in this case is we have configured all those things for you within the SDK, such that if you configure two things here, sorry, I accidentally clicked on it, but yeah, if you configure your authentication, you provide it in the OTLP header environment variable, and also your endpoint where you want the logs traces to be sent. So if you just provide these two, Strands by default would emit generative AI semantic OpenTelemetry logs and traces and send it to the provider that you have specified here. Literally just 2 lines of code.
That's incredible. Like that, when we say that Strands is built with, you can build agents with a few lines of code. That's you're seeing that firsthand here.
Yeah, and also you can activate observability with just few lines of code.
Right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's just as impressive, doing an enterprise observability integration in a few lines of code. It can be a whole, like, that's a whole work stream. If you're developing these things on your own, right? Like you're assigning developers to the sprint, and now we're providing a tool that already has a lot of that in place. By the way, while you were walking us through that, Ishan, we had some cool questions come in the chat. So I'd love to get your take on it. But first, people were telling us about the agents that they were building. All of these I feel like could map to Strands pretty well. Joseph said he's building a RAG-powered agent that basically, it retrieves internal documents and generates responses using Bedrock. What's interesting, Joseph, is what I learned today is if you're using Bedrock knowledge bases, you could actually plug Strands right in to that existing knowledge base and look to use Strands to orchestrate that workflow that you're describing there. So could be something interesting to take a look at. We also got Prasad building a smart order taking system for restaurants to automate orders, reservations, customer support. To me, that sounds like that's a great example of something that's going to call multiple tools, reconcile data from multiple systems, which leads me to the question from RF. And I wondered this myself. When you have a Strands agent that has multiple tools, how might you guide it to choose one tool over another? Let's say it has two similar tools. Is there any way to control which tool the agent calls?
So, well, with Strands, Strands is very capable in terms of it is a agentic. It's a model-based agent framework, not like your typical React framework. So we expect that model usually figures those things out. But since a model is powering it, we can specify prompts. Like for an example, in this case, it's not like relevant to this specific example, but it would convey the idea. So we can specify certain system prompts, and we can specify, hey, this is the scope for a given tool. And that agent can now pick up, based on that scope, the tool that is relevant for that question. So you have to play around with the instructions, with like how your agent is, and it could very well pick a wrong tool. So that's where your evaluation piece also comes in. Maybe it's probably like a good thing to break your agent into like multiple agents if there is like very like a high overlap in terms of how your different tools look like and the way they function. It could very well be a case of like creating multiple agents and like just isolating them. But start with prompting and then make your way through improving the prompts, and then finally to maybe different agents.
Love it. I love it. I like that it's a model driven approach, actually, because it makes it very easy to kind of describe and understand what's happening behind the scenes, even for somebody that
Exactly.
maybe just learning development.
And the reason why we're taking a model-driven approach, this is something that does make Strands very unique, is the fact that there are so many models out there now that are really good for handling complex tasks, and you're basically taking advantage of what the models are good at. So you can leverage those models to be able to go in and make the right choice in terms of the right tool, in terms of getting the best performance out of the workflow.
Yeah. And also the fact that now that models can also say that, hey, I can like invoke two tools in parallel, because I know that they don't have to be sequential. So models are now capable of doing that. And especially with the recently launched like Claude 4 models, where they also have interleaved reasoning. So that makes this like model driven agent really, really powerful.
Yes, but specifically for performing those complex multi-step reasoning and actions for your agents. That's where this is a very unique approach to taking that to agentic development.
Exactly. So moving on, over here, what I'm doing is I'm just configuring this agent. I have my system prompt. I am getting some tools that I have created in a separate file. And I'll quickly open one of those files so that you can see them, like how that looks like. So in this case, I'm just really importing a tool decorator. I define my own function. And in this function, in my case, I'm using DynamoDB, where I am performing the operation based on the like booking ID that I would receive, or basically agent would receive, and it would pass on to this tool. But if you look at this, there is a very like a unique thing that's going on here. So you define your function and make that function a tool for the agent. So what this also means is that, and this is one of the features of Strands, is that when you update the definition of a tool, like in runtime, Strands picks it up. So you don't have to explicitly like let Strands know that, hey, I have updated the definition of my tool. Strands is capable enough to understand and see the difference in the tool definition, and it can pick your new definition by default. So that's also one of the like good things of like how you can define your tools as a separate file if you have a use case where you want to dynamically change the definition of tool. All right. So I'm just importing those tools. And I know, Trevor, there was a question about knowledge bases. So we have a built-in tool, Retrieve, which takes care of that. So it directly integrates with Bedrock knowledge bases. And yeah, over here, I'm just like defining my like knowledge base, like environment variables, and then configuring my agents. Now here, again, coming back to the observability piece, and maybe also this is where I think somewhat online evaluation sort of starts. So what we have done is we understand that a lot of customers want to not just get like a default version of what your observability would look like. They want the ability to customize it. And customization could look like different things for different people. So for an example, it could look like, hey, I want to look at what's my cost by a user ID. So maybe they have their own users, they want to track their input output token and thus the cost. So they could do so. So we have attribute, it's called trace attribute, and you can literally pass any value, anything that you want to add to your traces directly here. But this does not solve for a dynamic attribute logging. We will talk about that towards the end, and that's also possible if you need that. But for now, let's just focus on like these metadata that helps you dissect your data, be able to like group them in a different way, be able to like build downstream like operations using them. Let's say you want to only allow your users to spend, maybe like for an example, just throwing out a number here, you just want to spend them maybe like 100,000 input tokens a day and maybe like 20,000 output tokens a day. So if you do not have a user ID, it would be very difficult for you to like sort of operationalize that. But if you have like a user ID here, you could do so. Now, talking about the eval piece of it, you may not have to like evaluate every single response that your agent processes, because then it increases your cost a lot. But then you may want to specify certain specific types, or maybe like certain things that you want to specifically evaluate. You could associate tags to it, or some other custom variable that you want to choose. So literally just giving you the flexibility around like how and what you want to log, so that you can connect the dots with your own other applications, maybe your website sessions, or some other identifiers that are important to you.
Amazing. By the way, I don't know if you caught this, Amanda, but we've got a Strands super fan in the audience here today. They're out there, and I verified it because they published this repo 5 days ago. So they were Strands fan before the stream. They're out there publishing projects to teach other people how to use Strands, which is pretty awesome, Alejandro. Keep up the awesome work. Really cool to see. And I guess, by the way, Sean, I hate to say it, but time flies when you're having fun. I'm looking at the clock, and we're actually coming close to time. Like, we can keep going with this demo. I just want to let you know in case there's anything you want to make sure that we show folks.
Yes. So I'll speed things through a little. Because I want to show you what the traces look like, and then definitely also how you would customize them. So I want to really show those two pieces for sure. So I have already run this notebook. Now I'm going to show you what these look like. And I'll come back to that web page again later. So if I go to traces, so one, what we are looking at is a dashboard where you have like total traces, cost, and these are some of the things you want to track, right? I was talking about the user ID cost. So right here is one of the ways to do it. And you can, of course, export these through an API, and then, like as I was mentioning, build those operations that you want to. Now, looking at individual trace, I'll open this up. So this is what our trace from Strands look like. Strands has something called cycles. Cycles are a combination of your model call and your tool call. I am showing you this second question in this case because that was the one that was was on the top. So in this case, you can see what's the total latency, what is the total input output tokens, what is the cost in this case, and so on and so forth. And you don't just get like a total time that your agent took to process the request, you get it by cycles. In this case, this cycle took about 2 seconds. Of that 2 seconds, 1.74 seconds were coming directly from your model. So this is your model latency, your time that model took to process the request. And in this case, the request was, hi, where can I eat in San Francisco? And this question is very legit to me because I don't live in San Francisco, and right now I'm in San Francisco. So this is a very legit question to me. Then as you can see, like it checks for the time, it checks for like different things. The reason why it checks for the time is because in the previous question, in this case, the question was make a reservation for tonight. I'm sorry, I misread it. So this is my first question, and this is my second question as a follow-up in the same session. So here the question is tonight. So in this case, the agent is trying to figure out what is tonight, what is the date. And then it goes through like the process of looking at, hey, I now need to invoke my booking tool. So it invokes the booking tool. And then for the booking tool, you have like the restaurant name, the date. So these are the inputs to your booking tool. So this is what your booking tool is expecting in order for it to be able to like create a reservation. And then finally it does that, and you get a response, which you are seeing here that, hey, great, I have created a reservation for you for 4 people at 8 p.m. Now, quickly talking about evaluation piece also. So in this case, I have pre-run some of the evaluation pieces. So quickly going there. What I have done is, as I was I mentioned that you can like, of course, send your logs to one of these providers, but also like query those logs. In this case, I'm showing you the offline process of it, so that like if you are like you really like Ragas, it's really great. We work with Ragas a lot. They are a very good partner and very capable evaluation capabilities are available through Ragas. So this notebook shows you that example. It's already available in our samples. So what we are doing here is I have built some aspect critique type of evaluation. What that means is aspect critique is basically like some sort of a binary classification of whether something was good or not, and then good or not is defined based on like what you are trying to track. Like for an example, in this case, I'm trying to track, hey, whether the request is complete or not, then whether my brand voice was followed or not, whether the right tool was used or not, and so on and so forth. Now you get the idea. So these are the ones that I'm evaluating here. The way this flow works is that your agent runs, Strands agent completes the request, it logs the request in Langfuse in this case, and then from Langfuse we run this script to fetch those traces, run the evaluation, and put it back in the same trace. The reason for putting the evaluation scores in the same trace is because now you know how this specific question, this specific trace performed, and you can see like different variables here. So in this case, I'm just going to pick one of these. Maybe let's say I pick brand voice. And what I'm expecting here is it to show me some reasoning. So you would then get like, hey, this is why like I gave a score, what I gave a score. So in this case, it is talking about that. Similarly, there is one more way to evaluate. And this comes from as a feature of Langfuse. This is also available in Arize, and I'll show you that too. You can also build something called an online evaluation. What this means, and I'm just going to open this one in this case, it says that anytime Langfuse receives a new trace for you, it executes a specific prompt, in this case helpfulness, because from a restaurant assistant point of view, if my assistant is not helpful, I don't know if that agent is good or not. So I want to track the helpfulness score throughout. So what I'm doing is I am just using this helpfulness across all traces that I receive. The moment I receive it, there is an instant evaluation that happens. So I have a continuous flow of this score to know how my agent is doing. Now, since I know that we are towards end, I want to also talk about this Arize piece. So this is the same agent, restaurant assist. I'm switching gears here. Now in this case, I'm showing you Arize. And as you would know that Arize follows a little different schema. It is also built on top of OpenTelemetry Gen AI semantics, but they have their own flavor of it. It's called Open Inference. Tiny bit different. So in order for you to be able to use that, what you need to do is, and I'm going to show you. So we have created a mapping between OpenTelemetry Gen AI semantics and Open Inference semantics, which is exactly here. And in this case, as you can see, the setup for observability is tiny bit different, but still like not a lot. So what we are doing is we are saying in this case that, hey, instead of using the default trace object that Strands has, which is our built-in observability, so don't use the tracing piece of it, use my own tracer. In this case, we are providing it one. And then we say that, hey, so this specific provider is going to map the differences and then finally log to, in this case, Arize. And really, this is all the setup that you need. And again, the activation piece of it, again, works through, in this case, like configuring the same, configuring the same endpoint variables, which is, as we saw in the last notebook, was OTLP endpoint. So the moment you configure it, this one takes care of rest of the things. And again, this is the same agent performing same task. Now, if we look at Arize, this is how their platform looks like. Very capable, similar to like Langfuse. They both are very capable. And now depending on like where you have preference, which one works best for you, you could choose any. So in this case, like as you can see, we have a similar type of like a hierarchy of cycles, which have model call, a tool call, and so on and so forth. And as you can see, the same question here. Here we also see a little bit of like a chart where you have like your graph nodes and everything. Like it shows the flow of how this specific cycle was triggered. So as you can see, like this is a very fancy thing. I think Langfuse also does this.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, this is like, it's so funny. I've seen, you know, what's hitting me right now. I've seen, since Strands launched, I've seen a lot of Strands demos. I'm just going to be honest, because you can build Strands agents so easy. I haven't seen this yet. And this feels like, when I'm talking to customers, needs to be a part of the story. Right.
Yeah.
And it's such a visual way that I feel like people can understand like the importance of things like latency on a per task basis and being able to break down every single step. For those folks who haven't built agents before, that's the type of visibility you need to operate, optimize, and ultimately get these things production ready, right?
Yeah, from a accuracy, latency, cost perspective, being able to understand the specific, look at the at AWS and Amazon, everything is measured from a metrics perspective. You can't improve something if you don't have a quantifiable way to see how it is doing. And when it comes to agents, you need to do the exact same thing. And being able to leverage observability, leverage these key traces from an evaluation perspective allows you to basically see and know what the agent is doing, what tools it's calling, and then by being able to then look at the key latency, performance metrics, the speed, that gives you an ability then to optimize and improve on your agentic workflow to make sure that it is the most efficient, effective as possible for your specific production use case. And when you're doing that at scale, that's where it's gonna be even more important.
Yeah, I'm forgetting where I read this or heard this, but it goes like this: you can't improve what you can't measure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say if you're after latency, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it, and you get latency broken down by every single step in this case.
I love it. And I feel like that's a great way to close this out. Amanda, Sean, thanks so much for coming on today, for sharing all the goodness of Strands. Folks, check out the description of this video if you're watching it later, or the chat right now if you want to go experiment with Strands yourself. It's so easy. You may as well give it a shot. See if you can build yourself an agent in a couple lines of code. Thanks a lot, Amanda and Sean, and we'll see you all same time, same place next week on AWS Show and Tell with Gen AI. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.